story. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. My name is Shabir again, and I've worked in the legal field for a long time. I've worked in various roles, so all of the information I give you is either from my education or my experience, or both. So we're going to get started with an overview. We're going to go over three main things. One is a short session, so it will just provide you with information that you can take and then use and put to use in your career. So first we're going to talk about realistic. I capitalize realistic because sometimes we don't reach our career goals because we do not have realistic assessment or realistic expectations. So we're going to start off by just determining how you can get there, how you can assess where you are in your career, and then determining where you want to be in 1 year. The reason why I picked a 1 year mark time frame is because we're at the beginning of the year. And a lot of times people are creating New Year's resolutions. They're working on them. Some people have already given up on their New Year's resolutions. But if you have not, and one of your your New Year's resolutions was to work on your career, this session will be helpful to you. So we're going to determine where you want to be in 1 year and then map out how to reach your career goals. So first, assessing where you are depends a lot on determining what are those things that are hindering you. What are those barriers? Now, these are four of the common barriers in any career. And this article was taken from Forbes, so you can access the whole article at this link. I have the slides available afterwards, so you can go to this link. But these are the most common reasons for career failure. And one is doing things the wrong way, just doing the wrong things. And so what that means is that maybe you want to reach a certain goal, but you're not taking the appropriate steps to get there. Example, let's say in your firm, you want to advance as a paralegal manager, a legal administrator, and there's certain protocol in place to get there. And you might think that by schmoozing or volunteering to do all this clerical type stuff that is not paralegal in nature is going to help you get there. Now, one firm, that may work. But in the one you're currently in, if they have different protocol, then although those niceties are good, they're not going to get you anywhere. So doing the wrong things can result in career failure. And doing the wrong things depends on a lot of different factors. It depends on where you're working at, the culture of the organization that you're working in. Also regulations, there may be some regulations in place that you have to meet. So until you meet those regulations, those rules, then you're not going to meet your career goal. Also, giving up too soon. I mentioned selecting the 1 year time frame because at the beginning of the year, and a lot of people create New Year's resolutions. Well, it's a known fact that a lot of people, and I want to say most, do not reach there or do not even complete their New Year's resolutions. They never get there because one, they give up too soon. Another, they're just scribbling this stuff down. It's just going to magically happen. But giving up too soon is a biggie. Success takes hard work. Anyone, any article, any book that's otherwise is fooling you because any successful person will tell you the trials and tribulations they went through to get where they are. Another is confusing a career and a calling. We may love to cook, but if we're trying to be a paralegal manager, you can bake all the goodies and the cookies you want and cakes, but that's not going to help you be a paralegal manager in your firm. So a career and a calling, those callings and career, and I kind of compare cooking with being a paralegal because sometimes we have a calling in life. You know, that's a lot of times that can be counselors and clergymen. Their calling and their career usually are one and the same. But for a lot of people, and I'm not sure what the statistics are for that, it's not going to be the same. And so there's different actions and different steps that need to be taken in order to reach career goals. That is different than doing a calling or working your calling or fulfilling your calling, unless, like I said, your career and your calling is one and the same, like you're a clergyman or a counselor or something like that. And another reason for career failure is just being too scared to stretch. This is big, and I broke these up. I put the majority of weight, and this is not based off of any statistics. This is a visual. But doing the wrong thing was giving the most attention because a lot of times we are doing the wrong thing. That encompasses all these other areas a lot of times. But being too scared being scared to stretch is also a factor in career failure because one, a lot of times when individuals, and I'll say we because I've been there, I do that even now, we're not willing to take risks. It's scary sometimes when you're doing something new and it requires not only the ability to stretch, but some courage, because you may be stepping in some unknown territory. And when you're doing it, it requires some courage, but it also requires taking some risks. A lot of people that are successful have also been pioneers in their field. Who knew of iPads and iTunes and all this stuff before Apple? Who knew about that before Steve Jobs, before he created that? I've learned and watched his story on one of one of the career programs that talk about different entrepreneurs and different people that were successful. He went through a lot of trials and tribulations, lots of difficulties before he finally became successful. This is true with a lot of things. The light bulb. I mean, a lot of invention, a lot of creation, a lot of businesses, a lot of people that are very successful in their career had a lot of failures before they got there. But if they were scared to stretch, and another one on here should be, but I'll incorporate it into too scared to stretch. So if you're not willing to stretch, and if you're not willing to face failure, you won't be successful, because you have to overcome that in order to be successful. And a lot of times you will fail before you actually succeed. So these are 4 of the most common reasons for career failure. So if you assess where you are, see if you fit in any of these areas, or if any of these reasons are hindering you, then you can then begin to address them so that you can be successful. And a year from now, you look back and say, wow, I made it. I did it. I finally accomplished that goal. I finally made where I wanted to be. So the next question is, where do you want to be? What is it that you want? Do you want a promotion? And when I'm talking about a promotion, I'm not talking about necessarily money. You may just want to be promoted to a different position. It may not necessarily mean you'll make more money, but you may want to make more money. Is that your goal? Well, how do you get there? Do you need a degree? Do you need another job? Is that what you want? Do you want more job responsibilities? Maybe you're doing like clerical and secretarial work as a paralegal, which I feel it's just a waste of a good paralegal. But you may be in one of those positions, at either because of yourself and you doing that, or because of the nature of where you're working at, you're doing a lot of clerical and secretarial duties. Maybe you want less job responsibilities. Maybe your plate is just full and you want less job responsibilities. Or maybe it's that you want a leadership position in the paralegal association. Maybe it's simply you just want work-life balance. You want to spend more time with your family, your husband, your kids, parents. You just want to work-life balance. You want to be able to balance everything on your plate so that you can enjoy your life. It's that you just want better equipment to do your job. You may know of an upgrade to a program or a computer or software that will help you do your job better, but your boss, your manager, whoever is not willing to fork the money away, and you're trying to figure out how you can get them to get you this so that you can do your job better. Maybe something simple as that. Maybe you want new coworkers, a new department, or a new manager. I put a question mark here because it might fall into that area where it's maybe unrealistic, but sometimes it is realistic. You can determine that for yourself. But is this what you want? A promotion, more money, work-life balance. Where do you want to be in a year? Once you determine where you want to be, map it out. How do you do that? Well, even if you're jogging, if you're hiking, if you're somewhere and you get lost, people will always instruct you. Let's say you call someone, I'm lost, or you're driving. It's like, I don't know where I am. I'm lost. The first question most people are going to ask you, where are you? Well, where are you? That's what you have to ask yourself. Where are you now? Locate where you are. If you do not locate where you are, then you're not going to be able to map out a successful career map and a way to reach your goals, because you don't even know where you are. And if you don't know where you are, you're not going to know what actions you need to take, what steps need to be taken in order to reach your career goals. Then determine, which we mentioned before, where do you want to be? Where do you want to be in a year? You can break that down into smaller time frames, like 3 months. 1 month, just so you can keep yourself on track. And then you have what's needed. Once you locate where you are, and then you determine where you want to be, you have to know, do you have what you need to get there? That can be anything. You have the experience. If the position you want, let's say that you want in a year you want to be promoted. Say the promotion requires, let's say, so years of managerial experience or leadership experience. Let's say you only have a fraction of that. One, it could be unrealistic for you to want that position if all the others in your firm or everyone before you has been promoted that has had this amount of experience, or you may just have to highlight something else that you're able to provide in that position and work hard to highlight it so that you can get that promotion. Maybe you have a certificate or you're certified by a paralegal association. Maybe you have an ABA approved certificate. Maybe you are a president or vice president of a paralegal association. Maybe you do pro bono work. And others that have been promoted, they don't have that. So you want to highlight that, and then that career goal becomes realistic. But you want to determine if you have what's needed. What that also allows you to do is start working on that. If you want something and you don't have what's necessary to get there, then do what you can to get that. And a lot of times that's reasonable. If you need a degree, go back to school. How long will it take? If you want to go back to school and get a degree, how long will it take you to get there? So you may not be finished in a year, but in a year you may be halfway through. So you have to make realistic goals, but also determine how long it takes you to get there, so then you can start mapping things out and staying on track. Then what it'll also allow you to do is determine when you don't have, like say for instance, you're a parent, you work full time, a lot of times you're working overtime, but you want to go, and I keep giving the example of school because I have a lot of experience with work and going to school, but it could relate to anything. But let's say you want to do that. You want to go back to school and you're working, and you're a parent, or you're taking care of an elderly adult, a sick sibling, whatever the case may be. So it makes it seem like you can't do that, like you can't go back to school. But if it's a time is an issue, then you may just need to rearrange some things on your schedule. So then that goal does become realistic. So you want to locate where you are, determine where you want to be, ask yourself, you have what's needed. So if you don't, you can get what's needed. Or the example that I gave, highlight other areas where you are able to provide something. You know, when I spoke of an example with a promotion, how long it will take there. So you can start mapping out and doing checks, you know, periodic progress checks to see where you are in relation to meeting that goal. And then what will it take? What will it take from you? Will you need to work overtime in order to get promoted? You need to start volunteering, maybe doing some pro bono work. There's a lot of organizations that need the assistance of paralegals, legal professionals that you can pro bono work for. Do you need a degree? Do you need a certificate from an ABA approved program? What is it that you need? Once you determine that, then you can start taking the appropriate steps there. So with that, I am going to wrap it up. You know, mapping out your career success, it depends on what your goal is. So it's individual. You have to map that out for yourself once you determine where you want to be. But these are just some tips on how you can go about doing that. So if you have any questions, I'm going to open it up now for any questions. Feel free to